All right. We are live. Josh Harwood, welcome to the Future of Fitness and the special series by EGYM. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks a lot for having me, Eric.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. This is the fourth installment of the series that working with EGYM called All Aboard: How to Conduct the Perfect Onboarding at Your Health Club or Gym. And obviously, there's a little train pun if people haven't figured that out in there somewhere. But you are with Fitness Connection, right? I was doing a little bit of research looking over the website. Big chain. I mean, you guys have a lot of locations. So let's start with this. Just to give everyone up to date on who you are and what you do. Josh, just tell us a little bit about Fitness Connection, your history. I know you've been in the industry for what, 30 something years now. It's been a minute, so give us a quick intro.
Yeah, 30 years. Like it feels I loved, training athletes. Yeah, I did that as part of my journey as well. I did consulting, and then was blessed to have a variety of partners that we came together with this vision of recruiting some private equity into the space. As a Gold's Gym franchisee, and three equity groups later, and coming out of the Gold's Gym brand and into our own brand, migrating from a mid-price point, with the Gold's Gym brand to being, I think, at the beginning or of the HVLP, with Fitness Connection. That's been my journey. Yeah. So did that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And tell us about Fitness Connection. I mean, how many locations are there now? And maybe for people who aren't super familiar with the term HVLP, but you can give us some insights on how it fits in that category too.
Okay, so Fitness Connection. So we are the best gym, that you've ever seen. So if you're not in one of our areas like North Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, all over Texas and Nevada, you may consider moving closer, so that way you can use one of our clubs. We'd love to have you. So high value, lower price is low price is what we would say, as far as like defining that. So our facilities, well, first of all, 47 facilities, I think, is what we're up to now. We're just,
Wow.
finishing up, opening up a couple in Atlanta, Georgia, depending upon when you listen to this. As far as at the end of Q1 of 24, our facilities are 50 to 70,000 square feet, full amenity. So we've got, what's all in now as far as strength. I mean, we've got strength on top of strength, all the platforms, that people are wanting these days, and free weights and dumbbells and the like. Turf functional areas. You have multiple, group exercise rooms in our facilities,
Wow.
kids club, lockers, some clubs have pools, some have basketball. So that's a little bit about, us, as far as what we offer, as far as, how it's an amazing value. Part of that is it's a lower price, right? So like, many folks out there, it's, $10, for a basic membership, and that can escalate all the way up, to $23.99 for, more amenities and services. So yeah, a little bit about who we are.
Yeah, it sounds like an amazing value. It really does.
Oh, it is. And then once you walk into one of our facilities, like you're saying that with even more emotion, Eric. You're like,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, how all this for that? So yeah, so come on down.
yeah.
Check this out.
Awesome, man. So, the topic of this series is onboarding. And I was telling you as we were warming up for this interview, we decided to go, an inch wide and a mile deep with this topic, right? And really talk about how critical it is. So, in your experience through all the years here in the industry, Josh, like why is onboarding so critical? And, not just specifically for the revenues of the gym, but maybe the client experience and them helping get their goals.
I think actually both those things you pointed out are linked. I
Hmm.
think in our industry, I think there's been two primary goals for doing uh, the onboarding, or at least attempting to do it. One is going to be more short term, which unfortunately I think has really grabbed historically more of the effort. And so the short term, it's been, hey, let me get this person engaged and try to sell them something along the way. Whatever it's, upgrading a membership or PT or supplements or whatever have you. Then there's the longer view, which affects really the higher percentage of our revenue, which is getting the person engaged so they come and get into a habit, so they're with you longer, right? So that retention is impacting your monthly dues, which again is going to be whatever 70% or more of your revenue. So So I think that's been traditionally, the two ways, folks have kind of looked at it. So let me pause right there. Is that, answer your question? Or?
Yeah, I think so. And that kind of it actually leads into the next one because when you look at the industry, where have we maybe stumbled a little when it comes to onboarding over the past few decades? Like, where do you think the room for improvement is?
I think it's probably at least in two areas. So first of all, I'll go back to that tension that we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
The short term, to long term. I think it's historically, it's been more focused on the short term. I want to meet with that person, to introduce them to services, that they may buy from me. And so I think that has with it, right, the temptation to short circuit or focus what you're doing on that onboarding session, towards sales as opposed towards, let's say, engagement. Right. So like I may just give them just enough, to want to buy from me, but I'm not going to really give them, let's say, enough, to really, let's say, use the product a bit more for fear that they wouldn't buy something.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So personal training being a real example there. I think the other place where there's been opportunity is oftentimes we're thinking in terms, or have thought in terms, of one customer. Because if I'm just thinking of one customer, then I've got kind of one product and one process behind that product that I have to execute. Okay. As opposed to, I think there's different ways of looking at, looking at this. One may be on experience. Like if you're pivoting around experience, you may have, I've often thought of it as a committed customer, right? So that's the person that is, they're not living without fitness, right? And, and if you're not open 24 hours, when you do open, they're waiting for you to open the door, right? So that's the committed. The casual customer may be somebody that has a membership for a long time, but just kind of comes in and out, or they just switch through brands. And then the curious customer, as I like to call it, which is the new customer. So they first time into fitness, or it's their first time back in years. So those three customers, like what they want, perhaps in an onboarding session can be very different. So just on the customer profile alone, that I think should pivot. I think when you go below that, then you can look at, like, what do they want? Like, what's the content each one of them wants? What's the channel that they want to consume it? Are they familiar with technology, and is that really easy for them and they want to have it through that? Or do they really want to meet with somebody, let's say, and is that in a group or is that one-on-one? And then I think, when they want it. When do I, like, being able to hit that when they want it? Or maybe I think a lot of us always assume that you want it right when you get, right when you get started. And that may be the case, but how you go about scheduling that, when you do that, or when they may feel they need it, can you also capture that,
Mm-hmm.
opportunity? And then I think finally thinking about your brand and what is your style of whatever you're going to deliver. Right. Like my style as an HVLP is probably going to be different, than, let's say, a higher end, like a, Lifetime, Equinox, or even a boutique. Right. So those are some of the things that I don't think many of us in the health club industry have really contemplated, to be able to give, something that's really going to hit the mark, for more of our customers.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point. I love how you differentiate the type of users, because it is obviously knowing, for lack of a better term, the avatar of who you're talking to. But I feel like not too many staff members are educated on the differences between each type of person, right? They just kind of, they may know it instinctually, but they haven't really been guided with, like I said, okay, you get the committed person coming in your door. This is how you identify them. This is how they should be treated differently than someone who's the casual, right? Is that something that you guys are looking at, as far as like how during the process of them, the sale and the onboarding, are you looking at ways to differentiate them and then kind of individualize that journey? Customize, right, is one of the big buzzwords we have this year. Like, how do you guys approach that?
I think we could do better. I think that the way our industry has been evolving, like the mobile app, right, is the hub of I think communicating, with or having that relationship with your member. And so I think as people are, whether they're joining, through the app, or if it's an in-club experience and you have staff that's, you know, concierging them around and going through a sales process, you're still going to end in helping them to download the app, you know, to get started. And that right there, right, as those words are coming out of my mouth, for somebody that has that kind of journey, like, especially if they don't know technology, you go, that right there is beginning the onboarding process, right? But I think then the app becomes this this hub of being able to start, you know, more of a customized journey for that person with respect to the onboarding. Yeah, is that, yeah? What do you think about that, or what else have you heard around that topic?
Yeah, I think it's I think it's a really good way to start. And you know, I kind of reflect on my experience of joining the gym that I go to here in Whitefish, Montana, and like I didn't even know there was an app until like 3 years in, right? And they're like, you know, I was like, hey, how do I book a class? Like, oh, download the app. I'm like, there's an app. That's great, you know. So I think there's always ways, like even the most basic quality of things, I think we often overlook that people just don't know they're there. And as a, you know, as a former like boutique gym owner, you know, it was even then, like a lot of people, there was so much high touch, right, in getting them into the community. But we only had, you know, 200 members versus God knows how many you have at each location. But, you know, it's different. I think just getting that little bit, I think we can overlook something as simple as just getting them onboarded into app and even taking their phone and showing them like, hey, here's where you find it. Here's those little things. So I think those are really critical. And, you know, I want to touch on technology too. So obviously, you know, you guys have adopted EGYM technology, but when you look at like engagement of your members, is there any particular technologies, and we can touch on EGYM, of course, if you want, but that you found to be more valuable, or things that you've been surprised at when initiating within your clubs?
I've been surprised at. I'm not going to say something we institute. What I'm surprised at is the use of everyone's personal devices, you know, to video and take pictures of themselves,
Crazy,
you know,
right?
doing exercises and such. So that's definitely been surprising. I'm going to maybe turn a little bit on your question.
Sure.
What I think about, and I'm going to go down the technology road. I'm going to do two paths. So I think directly, like with EGYM, I do think, like, in terms of like the device, you know, the equipment. I was going to call it selectorized, but you know, it's a little bit hard to even call it selectorized equipment that you guys have, right? Like that, you know, that could serve at least a couple of those, you know, those consumers, right, really well. I mean, if you're onboarding somebody, you know, through the app that is let's say not just through the app, but that's a curious customer, right? Where intimidation can be a big deal. Which is like not knowing what to do, like lack of motivation. They may just need that. I mean, it takes a lot to get in the door, but now you really got to carry that momentum forward, right? They need, you know, potentially, you know, both of those things. You know, setting them up like on the circuit of your equipment, you know, could be really knock down the intimidation, right? If I know what I need to do when I get in, and somebody's taken me through that, right? They just didn't set me up and, you know, kind of set and forget it type of thing, but they really orient me to it, take me through several workouts, and they're using, you know, the app and using the equipment, you know, to help me understand like how this thing is, you know, learning what I'm doing, and being able to challenge me, and how I can use that to get the good workout that I'm looking for, the results I'm looking for. Like that works for that customer. That could also work, quite frankly, for like a committed customer or somebody that has to be committed. Let's say that's coming off a rehab, right? And, you know, being able to work with the eccentric movements and that type of, like, kind of geeked out that a committed person may be, or that like I was saying, somebody may be coming into rehab that they need to be, right? So that's one line of the question when I think about, hey, EGYM, and in particular, you know, technology and how that could work with onboarding. The other one where I'll kind of pivot a little bit is like draw out to other industries. And I think Home Depot, you know, has interesting parallels, right? Even though they're not like a subscription service, but they do have this, like, for a lot of people, there's a level of intimidation, like when it comes to home improvement and even walking into one of those stores, right? And so what do? They've got a varying degrees of, I think, meeting some of these customer groups. Like they do those in person, like on a weekend, they'll do like an in person, like, hey, how do you do this? You know, type of seminar, not just seminar, but it's usually hands on, right? And even do them for the kids, right? So if I can get my kids in here, so that should sound like Planet Fitness, right? With the way they do their, you know, their memberships for the high school kids. Yeah. So if I could get you in here touching and feeling it and kind of teach you how to do it, that knocks down some of that intimidation. Yeah, I've got videos out there, how-to videos that I can link you out to. Now, if I'm more committed, they do a great job with their mobile app, right? Like I can go into their mobile app, and even the casual, it's probably a little more the casual. I can go in their mobile app for the store that I'm in, and it'll give me a map, right, of where I need to go to find whatever product I'm looking for, right? I can still go by the desk if I'm more of a, curious customer, or I could go by the aisle and there may be an aisle agent there, but I can also get to it through the app. I can even barcode scan what I know I need and find it and get the price, right? So I think, being able to help interact with the product, in such a way that's going to be good experience and facilitate me coming back. Like there's some lessons in there that I think we can pull, from the health club industry. Yeah. What do you think about some of what I was saying there?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's a really good analogy. I mean, I never really thought of Home Depot in a way of like, it is a bit like, and I'm not handy, Josh. It's embarrassing sometimes. Like,
Oh,
so
that's okay.
yeah, so I go like there and I always ask, somebody and they're always super gracious and they help me with it. And I kind of almost need that. And you know what? I'm curious too to get your thoughts
So
on
that's
this.
a great parallel. Like that helps you.
Yes, it
I'm
does.
the other one. Like I do a lot of home improvement. So for me, for the app, like being able to know where I'm going and
Yeah.
barcode something so I can. So two different customers, vastly different, but our kind of like parallel onboarding experience, like to be able to get what I want and have a good experience, like they're hitting it, for two polar ends of that. Sorry, I
Yeah.
interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, it's good. I guess you could call me DIY curious, right? That would be
Yeah,
like
exactly.
one kind of a last thought, and this is not really on the script, but we've seen such a boom in strength training, and you're alluding to like how much strength you guys have available at your gyms. But I think as both of us been in the industry for a minute, like strength takes a little bit more. Of course, e-gym equipment is very easy to use, very safe, very simple, right? But when people are getting into like, the actual platforms, barbells, dumbbells like that, it takes a little bit of experience and training to do that correctly and effectively and safely, right? So when you look at like onboarding specifically for strength, where do you think we have opportunities as an industry to I guess like do we educate, right? Do we upgrade our equipment to something like eGym where it's safe? Like where do you see those opportunities now with this boom of strength?
I think it's both the things that you were saying. And it's initially listening to your question, my head was going to again a little bit two things I said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
One, the Home Depot, right? Like if I'm wanting to explore or try to understand how to do something, because that's very tactile, the strength, right? Like it's not, you could watch a video and do it, but like if you've never done it before, like trying to do an Olympic movement or something like that for the
Oh,
first
yeah.
time, even though you watch a bunch of videos, not only is it not advisable, but it's still pretty intimidating to try to pull something like that off, right? Even if you are a casual user. So like the Home Depot example where, okay, look, I've got these workshops where you can be hands-on, right? So and you get scale on that as an operator, right? It's one person, like one trainer. And if they're holding these workshops, that is a great opportunity, right? You're going to be able to sell training there, but you're also going to be able to hopefully make somebody more of a raving fan, even if they don't do the training, because you're going to enable them to go to the next level, to be engaged at the next level, which means they're going to carry their fitness journey on, right? I think about that other item I mentioned about in the app, right? Where I was talking about when you're available to, or your availability to the customer has to be timely. So in this example here, if I'm a casual customer and I'm curious about being, more involved with the strength equipment, free weights, how is it that I can make myself available to you as a brand so that you can raise your hand? Right. So whether that's in the app, like, hey, look, at geolocating, I know that somebody's near the free weight section on the floor here and something pops up. Hey,
Hmm,
we can always help. Just let us know and we'll have somebody
cool.
write out to you, to make, maybe an extreme example. So I think whatever that may look like, I think that's the challenge is like, how can you sense that somebody needs the assistance and then meet them where they are and how they want to be. I think on your eGym equipment, I think the idea of like equipping the facilities for what the customers are interested in is right. I mean, yeah, that's like product design, type thing. I think your product, like mentioned before, could serve that. It doesn't necessarily have the like. It's not inherently for the committed because I think the committed are looking for not a machine, right?
Mhm.
but that's where, it's almost becomes some challenges, because like you start getting into like doing eccentric movements and those types of things, right? Or even when you're really being challenged throughout your whole range of motion, as the computer can do. I mean, helping to introduce somebody that is committed to like a new way of commitment, right? Because clearly, a lot of them may be, again, interested in technology or comfortable with technology, with the apps and the videos and pictures they're taking of themselves. So some of that translates. Some of the, like the passion of committed and the comfortable with technology can end itself in your equipment. So I think equipping with stuff like that, that's going to challenge people, and probably doing a toe in the water to see what that looks like and see how people grab onto that and gravitate to it. I think, yeah, I mean, that's part of having a good product that, is going to attract customers.
Yeah, right on. That was really, really solid answer, and really interesting to see where the industry goes with that in particular. But held you a little bit longer than I could, so I appreciate you going over, Josh.
I talk too much, man. It's my fault, not yours.
No, not at all. No, it's been great. If people want to, I guess, learn more about you or get in contact with you, obviously, the Fitness Connection website, but give us a few places where people can go online if they want to search
LinkedIn,
that.
that'd probably be the easiest one. So look me up on LinkedIn, hit me up with a request, and I'll definitely, get around to it. And yeah, we look forward to connecting with you. Always looking forward to learn from other people and their experiences. And so, I would love to make, new friends and new connections, just like I did today, Eric.
Yeah, right on. Well, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Josh Harwood.
Thank you.